Hi, I'm Bob Gimlin. Most people who seriously inquire upon the Bigfoot phenomena agree that Bigfoot is nocturnal, as opposed to diurnal, which means active during the day, typically during sunrise and sunset. And I'm not sure what is more inconceivable, Bigfoot existing, or Bigfooters agreeing with one another. And I can already hear the skeptics melodiously chanting that there is no precedent for a nocturnal higher primate. But in this video, I will lay out the precedent for a nocturnal primate, and why a primate would benefit from a nocturnal lifestyle. Mountain gorilla, for example, managed to be highly elusive while operating in the day. Imagine the edge it would have if it were to operate at night. And be bipeds. And possess exponentially higher intelligence. And though none of the known great apes are naturally nocturnal, the beginning of the primate lineage was almost exclusively nocturnal. Tarsiers and loris are nocturnal to this day. And speaking in terms of adaptation, if it has been done once before, it is only that much easier for it to occur again, because primates are nothing if not adaptable. Of course, a transition between diurnal and nocturnal does not need to take thousands of years of biological selection. It can take just a couple of generations. Owen Caddy is a warden with the Uganda Wildlife Authority. The Rabongo forest is under his jurisdiction, as are the chimpanzee and chimp researchers who inhabit it. Owen Caddy notes that the chimps have made an easily documented transition to, quote, nocturnal foraging and travel, and the chimpanzee will, quote, go to great lengths to avoid detection. Which sounds familiar. The agent of change that caused the chimpanzee of the Rabongo to become nocturnal is the Ugandan Civil War. Chimpanzee changed to forage and travel at night to avoid running into starving militants, or fall victim to poachers and trappers who make a considerably large amount of cash via the reprehensible primate pet trade. And this is completely unrelated, but primates are not pets. It makes me sick, and if you own a pet primate, don't kid yourself. It may come back to bite you, specifically your face or genitals. A while back, I made a video entitled Sasquatch in the Americas, a Prehistory. In it, I lay out the menagerie of deadly and dangerous creatures, like lion and hyena, the spectacled bear, the tapir-like Moertherium, as well as a yet unknown primate, all of which who left their historical Old World range via the Bering Land Bridge during various times of the Ice Age, and therefore entered the, quote, New World. In this new and uncompetitive environment, animals radically changed, like the spectacled bear, which grew to become the short-faced bear, just as some primate turned into this. And of all the terrors this primate dealt with in North America, the most dangerous was, of course, Clovis man. Clovis man is the first widespread culture that had a shared and complex system of identically crafted weaponry. And make no mistake, they were very good at killing, both to satisfy the protein requirements of a suspiciously massive population, as well as make safe the landscape for said massive population. Think about it. They must have been storing huge amounts of meat, and the only feasible way to keep it from this guy, or from these guys, would have quite frankly been extermination. During the day. Desperately, perhaps. Before a time when there was no light pollution, except for campfires, and Clovis man's killing projectiles would become useless, and instead of them going to the animals just may have come to them. Some argue, but there is a general consensus, that Clovis man deserves the impressive distinction of wiping out the Megafauna. And for good reason. 10,000 years ago, something like this, or this, was going to be in conflict with you at one point or another. So why not take the conflict to them? And that time would be during the day. Clovis man's impressive array of atlatl and javelin and spear would do them little good in the dark of night. And the deeper into the brush that something were to hide, and the darker the landscape, the least likely that that something would be to run into this, or something like this. So just how the Ugandan Civil War, as recently as the 1990s, drove chimpanzees to be nocturnal, Clovis man drove a large North American primate to do the same, over 10,000 years ago. More than enough time for an adaptable biped to change not only its behavior, but subtle physiological changes selected over time. To put it bluntly, a Bigfoot who was just hanging out in the open during the day would have been a dead Bigfoot. And that is exactly what is so impressive about primates. So much of our physical resources go to our large brain. If your biggest threat is a spear, or atlatl, or musket, or even camera, then why not adjust your behavior to a time of day when those threats become near useless? A clever primate does not need thousands of years to figure that out. Luke Hunter's Carnivores of the World by Princeton University Press documents that even black bears, living near human habitation, are almost exclusively nocturnal, while bears from areas of sparser human habitation tend to be active during the day. So if black bears can change their lifestyle to avoid conflict with humans, surely a primate would as well. And not only would they, but they would be much better at it. So when the skeptic asserts that primates aren't nocturnal, know well that primates can be nocturnal when they need to be, and all primates used to be nocturnal. So there's both a long-term precedent as well as immediate precedent for a nocturnal higher primate. And a quite cunning one at that. Clovis man's impressive mass kill-off of large animals, as well as the very animals they stalked, necessitated the process of a mentally flexible ape to prioritize stealth and constant cryptical behavior. You and I, as well as all other primates, are remarkably skilled problem solvers. Primates figure stuff out. Primates adapt. If for some 10,000 plus years, javelins, atlatls, and more recently, things like this, began encroaching in a primate's range during an episode of mass extinction, I find it more than likely, in fact probable, that a clever primate would surely transition to night. Darkness being a condition wherein sight-based tools are rendered near useless, which I'm sure Sasquatch is acutely aware of. So thousands of years ago, they went nocturnal, as some apes have only recently begun. I'm quite sure of this, though I hope it never comes to be, that we will someday declare chimpanzee extinct. But some populations will still subsist where humans don't go, and those chimpanzee will do everything in their power to increase their odds, which includes not going out with the sun. We know ancestral primates were nocturnal, and we have documentation of a known higher primate to transition to nocturnal behavior as a direct result of human conflict. And North America has had direct fauna-human conflict by specialized killers for well over 10,000 years, which is more than enough time for a primate to adapt to the most efficient mode of survival, operating when humans cannot. And someone out there is probably thinking, Bigfoot aren't nocturnal. Most eyewitness reports happen during the day, and all the films happen during the day as well. That's exactly why Bigfoot are nocturnal. Eyes don't witness so well at night, and filming during the night is only even commercially possible as of some 50 years or so. If these creatures habitually operated during the day, there would be many more sightings, and they would be far less elusive. I think the only time they are seen in the daylight is when a mistake has been made, or several mistakes have been made. And I think we're talking about a creature that has grown adept at not making mistakes. Paddy was not the best or brightest of Bigfoot. History supports that great apes can rapidly and radically alter their lifestyles as a direct result of human intervention. And the advantage of being habitually nocturnal and equipped to deal with low-light conditions is invaluable. And just one of the many reasons that, in their environment, they are rarely, if ever, bested. Humans probably started harassing Bigfoot over 10,000 years ago. Hunting parties of Clovis man would foray into the light when their projectiles could be aimed. So why wouldn't an adaptable primate conceal and cover, and operate when mankind has little more than a shot in the dark? Which makes sense to me. The fact that Bigfoot operate at night intensifies the assertion that a North American ape could survive, and therefore would survive, with virtually no sightings. In order for a person to see a Bigfoot, much less film one, that Bigfoot has made many mistakes. Being out in the day is just one of them. Just as we put our hefty brains to pursue the seemingly impossible, they do too. The impossible being staying out of our way. And they have gotten quite good at it. Obviously. And that's what I think. Like the video if you agree, and thanks an awful lot for listening.